Well, hello and welcome to Conversations with Alexis. My name is Alexis Alexander, and I am thrilled to have with me today Shawn and Jennifer Spears. I have followed them and their journey, their courtship, their marriage, their children, Cree and Jet, the whole gamut, all on social media. That's what social media has some good points to it, but it's been a remarkable story, and I knew I wanted to have them on Conversations with Alexis. I hope their story encourages you, inspires you. I don't like to say folks are couple goals or you want their love story, but I want you to know God creates custom-made love stories. And theirs is one example of what he can do if you surrender and submit to him. So I'm just excited to have this conversation. I want to introduce Shawn and Jennifer. Tell us a little bit about yourselves, where you're from, what you do, who you are.
I'm Shawn Spears. I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay.
Right, anybody doesn't know where that is, it's right at the Smoky Mountains, Gatlinburg area.
Okay.
And that's where I'm from. That's why you hear the country accent.
That's all right. I love it. It's awesome. Okay.
Yeah, and so Jennifer Spears. I am originally from Long Island, New York, but I grew up in Charleston, South Carolina. I always have to tell people the Long Island first because they get confused when I don't really have a Southern accent, so that's why. But so we currently reside in Atlanta, Georgia, which is where we met. We've been married we're in our 7th year. So we just celebrated 6 years in July. And so we're in our 7th year of marriage. We have 2 wonderful children, as you mentioned, Cree and Jet. But we also have 4 bonus children. They're all girls. And so what else? We go to church here in Atlanta, Georgia, Cornerstone Church.
Okay.
And we're just happy to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
Pleasure, my pleasure. Tell us what you do. What are your careers?
Oh, yes.
I just piddle around.
We're not doing that today.
No, you do beautiful things, sir. Beautiful. Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead and brag on yourself, babe.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, I just kind of do this, do that. Contractor.
Yes.
Roofing company.
Yes.
Multifamily properties.
Yeah.
Apartment complexes. And
that's a lot of dibbling dabbling. Okay.
Exactly. Sometimes I have to tell them, go ahead, babe. Either you gonna brag on yourself or I'm gonna brag on you.
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. Very good. Now tell us about you. Got a lot of.
I am an accountant here in Atlanta, and I have a virtual accounting firm where I help small businesses organize their financials. I also have an online boutique, shopbloom.com. We actually launched yesterday.
Congratulations. Yes.
Yes. So we're both serial entrepreneurs, and
I love it. And see, we're just getting started. Y'all minds are gonna be blown. I want Shawn to start us off and tell us about a brief walk through your adult journey. Like you were successful, you were in your lane, something happened, something else happened. Walk us through briefly your journey.
That could take a few days.
I know, I watched y'all.
This version.
The condensed version is I've been married before. I was married for 14 years before. 27, I believe it was. My father backed me. My mother and father been married 54 years.
Wonderful.
Crazy guy.
Just
really good people. My father backed me to go in the car business because I had sold cars all my life. I had sold new cars and used cars. And, so he backed me to go into a used car dealership.
Okay.
At 27. And I started that, I think, around 97. And ran it, started kind of dabbing in property around 2001. And it was just raw property, acreage that I guess my first piece of property is a beautiful piece of property looked at the Smoky Mountains.
Oh, wow.
And end up selling it out. I think back then we didn't really call it flipping.
Okay.
I'm old.
Stop it.
But from there, just started renting property and selling, started new construction, started building houses, and I thought I had made it.
Okay.
As some people say, I thought I had made it.
Yeah.
I had car dealership, tow trucks. Had 2 tow trucks and had the rental property and new construction and 06, like I said, I thought I'd made it in 06, 07, started getting real shaky and hairy. And instead of pulling back on money, I kept living the lifestyle that I was living before with, a bunch of fancy cars and $5 houses, trips, everything else, yada, 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 that goes with it. And I'm trying to run through this real quick.
No, you're good. You're doing great. Okay.
And from there, 08 led into, the 08 crash.
Yeah.
And recession and depression. I struggled for 10 months trying to make ends meet. I was selling off property, trying to keep the lifestyle that I was living.
Right.
And I can remember August of 08, I was on riding motorcycles with one of the guys I rode motorcycles with. And he was a drug dealer, and something had happened with his money, yada, yada, yada. We were real close. He knew I still had some money, not the money that I had before.
Right.
And he said, hey, let's, we can do this. I can sell the product, and you can benefit off of it to pay your bills for a while. And that led to, hadn't had a drink. I used to drink real heavy in my early 20s. Started drinking again after 10 years. I was stressed out and trying to keep the lifestyle, trying to keep my family in the lifestyle that they wanted to stay in. And started back drinking August of 08. 2.5 months later, I got the green light. Let's go down the road and pick the drugs up in Atlanta.
Oh, wow.
And I 2 weeks before, I heard God say, don't go down that road.
Wow.
And so
okay.
I went down the road, and needless to say, I got busted. We got busted on the way back with a bunch of Colombian Bam Bam.
Wow.
So
wow.
Stayed in jail a month and a half. My father, which great guy, he made my bond. Got out, stayed out 2.5 years, but I still had to pay the piper. So
you got to wait 2.5 years before going.
Yeah. I made my bond.
Okay.
A month and a half.
Okay.
2.5 years I stayed out, and actually started back because I've always, been a pretty good hustler in the entrepreneurship.
Okay.
I actually started back making decent money.
Wow.
But I still had to pay the piper. I still had a crime that I had committed.
Yeah.
So with a good lawyer, I already knew what my sentence was going to be.
Okay.
When pled guilty, which I did. Unlike most people that say that never done anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so went to jail May of 2011, and went to jail. Ex-wife was gone. Everybody was gone within 6 months. Getting served divorce papers, but everybody was gone there. But I truly found Christ while I was in there. So a lot of people don't understand how prison saved my life. That's where I really, truly, it wasn't just to walk into church with a nice suit and Bible that I never read and saying, look at me, I'm a businessman, I'm giving these tithes, I'm a Christian.
Right.
No, that doesn't, classify. It's not what a Christian should be. So I really, was seeking God in there. So He really changed my life.
That's beautiful.
And you want me to keep going?
We're gonna bring in Jennifer, but I want to bring to the point. Everything had to fall apart around you, and He got you right where He wants you to talk to you, to minister because you seem like you just like jailed with God while you were in the prison environment.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, it took that, but it took it, and you leaped on that relationship with God, and it just spills out of your writings, out of your conversations. So I think that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So thank you. Okay, you did great. You did great. Now I love that while you're undergoing this transformation in the prison, Jennifer's on another side of town going through her own transformation. Tell us about what you were going through at this time.
Yeah, I was in DC shacked up with some man.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I left Atlanta because I moved to Atlanta from South Carolina in 2005. I left Atlanta around 2010.
Okay.
And right, yeah, around 2009, 2010, and I moved to Washington D.C. Packed up my stuff to, live with my boyfriend at the time.
Okay.
And I knew that was not God's will for my life. I knew that I should not have been there.
Mm-hmm.
But you know how sometimes I think we'll test God.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, Lord, if I get the job, then that must be a sign that I should go.
Right.
Now, I went in there, I was qualified.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like that's that. I was qualified. I went in there. I did a great job in the interview. So me getting the job had nothing to do with God saying, oh, okay, yeah, that's
right.
I will for you.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I was like, okay, so if I get the job, then that means that, you want me to go. So I packed my stuff and I went, and it was just a very, we were toxic to each other.
Wow. Okay.
In a sense of I had just a lot of things that that I had going on that I needed to work through, and that he had the cheating, and it was a lot. And so I remember I was in my corner office in DC, and literally you could see the Capitol from my office. So it was a beautiful view. And so I had this great job. I had this great career. My friends are like, oh, your goals. Oh, wow, you're doing this, you're doing that. Yeah. And I was so miserable inside because I was not living God's will for me. I wasn't walking in my purpose. And I was in a relationship that did not honor him at all.
Wow.
So I remember the Lord just speaking to me right there in the office and saying, either you're going to stay here and continue to be miserable and continue to be disobedient, or you're going to end this, pack your things, and go back to Atlanta. And so, and I wrestled, and so I cried, and I was like, God, I'm going to do it. And then I kind of wrestled with it for a week because of the, embarrassment that you may feel, having to come back, a failed relationship, whatever. And I did it anyway. And I packed up my things. I moved back to Atlanta, and I gave my life to God. I told him that if you tell me to go left, I'll go left. If you tell me to go right, I'll go right. Yeah. And he was in, and it wasn't around the same time, but sort of, as far as the time frame, but he's in prison and getting his life together. So yes, I moved back to Atlanta, and I start my journey with God all over again. I rededicate my life, and I tell him that, Lord, whatever your will is, that's what I want. I just want to be pleasing unto you. And I want to honor you with my life. I want to honor you with my body and my relationships. The next relationship that I have, if it does not honor you, then I don't want it. If it's not, if anything that you do not have for me, I do not want it. So that's where I was.
I love the fact that you addressed, it might look beautiful on the outside, and it looked like couple goals, but you were miserable. And I think that's why you can't go by what it looks like, and people have to own their own authenticity and truth. If you know this is not the will of God for you, no matter how hard or embarrassing or uncomfortable, I think it speaks that you were courageous enough to listen and to be obedient, and just wait till down the road God shows out. Okay. So there you go. So now you all have gone. You've both growing closer to God separately in your own ways. And now I know I'm skipping some pieces. but I want to get to the part where you actually meet each other. How do these two worlds collide? Different worlds. And how do they collide and how do you meet? Tell the people.
Yes. So
you want the truth or her version?
Yeah.
Aren't they the same? Okay, very good. Go ahead. Go for it.
Well, at my office, they said it was some woman out front with a picture saying she's looking.
Shawn, we're not doing this today.
Like, wow. Okay.
We're not do this today.
Wait, I didn't have that part in my notes. Okay.
Right.
Okay. No, go ahead.
Oh, you're all off.
Yes, I'm like, okay.
No, so we met online through on Christian Mingle,
Yes.
dating site.
Yes. Uh-huh.
I felt led to build a profile on online dating.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did it. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to put it out there. And if anything happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And then maybe that'll kind of even help me get myself back out there. Because at this point, I'm whole, I'm healed. I've dealt with a lot of the issues that I needed to deal with. So I felt ready.
Yeah.
And so I built my profile on Christian Mingle. And then Shawn.
She was looking for me.
Come on now, babe.
Yeah, I mean, I done the same thing.
Yeah.
I was led to build a site, and I reached out to Jennifer and sent her a message, and she responded back, and we started going from there.
Yeah, and the crazy part about it is that I actually joined and then I quit.
Okay.
Because I gave myself like 30 days, and then I ended up conversing with a man that I met, which I thought that he was a nice guy. He was the only guy that I ever exchanged phone numbers with.
Okay.
And then we agreed to meet. And what happened was, I'm sorry, a break.
Okay, you're good. You're good.
And listen to me. If you want a surprise today, because remember, Godmother Carrie is coming today, okay? So you need to stay in there. Turn it on something that's on the kids' Netflix. Watch a movie, okay? Okay, don't come back in here. We're almost done, okay? All right, thank you, babe. Okay.
You're good.
So, yes. So I ended up meeting someone. We exchanged numbers. We didn't meet in person, but we, messaged each other back through the Christian Mingle app.
Okay.
And so we agreed to meet. I was going to South Carolina for an event that my friend had. And so I rushed and left South Carolina to come back to Atlanta because we agreed to meet. And then he called 1 hour before on my way back and said, oh, I forgot about my friend's housewarming. And, can we get a rain check? Now, old Jennifer would have said, sure, we can reschedule. That's no problem. But new Jennifer, because one of the things that I asked God for was a man who would be so intentional about really courting me and really be interested in me, where I would be a priority, where I would feel like a priority, where I would feel adored and loved. And I didn't feel either of those things in that moment. I felt like, and because it couldn't have been a best friend, because you wouldn't have forgot your best friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or even I threw out there, let's meet for coffee or whatever.
Right.
And he still was like, no, let's just do it another time. So that meant that he was not serious. That showed me in that moment that he was not serious. And I could already see a red flag, and I was like, nope, not going to work. Wow. So I said, you know what? I'm not ready for this this dating. So I quit. Yeah. And so one day I was checking my emails, and I created a specific email for the Christian Mingle dating site because you get so many messages. And so that was that was the Gmail account that pulled up. And so I'm like, oh, let me sign out of that. And then I'm like, I cancel this. Why do I have a message from someone? And so I read it, and it was a message from Shawn.
Wow.
Yes. And so when I clicked on it, and it took me to Christian Mingle. Now, mind you, I got all of these messages, but only his came through. Wow. So I was really intrigued at that point, because I was like, this is so weird. And when I read what he wrote and He just really took his time and read my profile and mentioned things that were in my profile. He said, and then towards the end, he said, I'm a Christian for real. Right. So that means that if you're interested in having sex before marriage or anything like that, I'm not with it. And I was like, wow. We didn't even get to the first date. He was like, let me just put this out here.
I love that. Oh, I love it. Yes.
So I was really intrigued at that point. Like, wow, I've never met a man to even say any of those words. And the fact that he said it from the beginning showed me that he wasn't playing any games and that he was going to be serious. And
leading the pace of the relationship.
Yes.
I love it. Like, this is how we're starting. If you keep coming with me.
Yes.
I love that. Awesome.
Yep. So we exchanged numbers. We began just talking on the phone for a couple days. And then we finally felt ready to meet each other. And so he scheduled a date. It was actually a lunch date. At the time I worked, I worked across from the Perimeter Mall, so there was, Atlanta Fish Market or something like that. It's like a seafood restaurant that was like right across the street from my job. So he agreed to meet me for lunch.
Okay. Let's back up to the conversations a little bit more.
Okay.
And tell me if I'm prying too much. So in conversations though, as y'all were talking and getting to know each other, y'all would end in prayer. Am I right?
We did. He would pray. I know.
Before we got,
yes.
Pray.
Yes. Every time we talk, he was like, okay, before we get off the phone, let's pray.
Wow.
And we would always pray the last conversation that we would have, because we would talk throughout the day.
Yeah.
And so it would be in the evening time. And the crazy part about it is that I was like, I knew he wasn't, I believed what he said, because I knew he told me that he was divorced.
Okay.
But then I was questioning. I was like, now we get off the phone every night. What was it, like 8 or 9 or something?
Probably.
Yes. We get off the phone at that time every single night. And he'll say, I'll talk to you tomorrow. And I'm like, either he's very disciplined in his bedtime routine, and like, I don't even want to talk to you later on at night.
Right.
Or he feels like if we have conversation later on at night, it may lead to us, talking about some other things that we don't need to be talking about. Right. And so I was very curious about that. Yeah, but I never felt.
I would have to call you from the payphone.
He said he would have had to call me from the payphone.
Oh wow!
Because he was in the halfway house at the time.
Right.
But he did not share that with me.
Right.
But the crazy part about it is even though I knew it was something there, God never released me to ask him.
Wow. Okay.
Never released me to ask him.
Okay.
And so every time I wanted to ask him, I always felt that tug where God was like, pause, just be quiet, hold on. I got this.
Right.
And so when we met for lunch, that is when he told me everything. Because up until this point, I knew about the divorce. I knew that he had 4 children. I knew, I knew everything except for that part. Like his parents, where he was from, all of that. I just didn't know.
So I want to ask Shawn about this part, because you have met this great woman. You have told her most of your past and so forth. But there's this one thing you got to tell her. And so when you go meet in person, how did you prepare yourself for possible rejection? I love that you want it to be transparent and honest as soon as possible, but there has to be some kind of mental thing like, she might accept me, she might not. How am I going to deal with it?
You know what? God had showed me so much, and if she rejected what I had to say, because I had already told her that I have something to talk to you about. I want to talk to you in person about it. And if she did, that wasn't God's will. And so many times we're hiding and not telling the truth and not being honest with somebody because we're afraid.
Right.
Well, if they know this about me, then they're not gonna want to go forward with everything.
Right.
And listen, it's like, if it's not God's will, don't push and try to force it. He don't need your help.
All right.
And it's like, I had been in a toxic marriage and relationship even before the marriage. For 18 years. And from that, I did not want to sit and be in a crazy whirlwind storm.
Right.
And it's like, no, let me be honest with everything up front.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to hide nothing because if it's not God's will, it's just not God's will, and I can move on.
Yeah.
And so and even on my side, I often hear guys that maybe had a felony or some type of past, feel like they can't get a job, they can't get this type of relationship with a woman. This and that. It's like, listen, I had my own list.
Okay.
Before that, I had a list. It was just like, because I wasn't going down the same path that I had all my life with craziness. So I had like a 1, 2, and 3 checklist that it was like, and I did. I mean, it was women that I had met or Jennifer that had great jobs, lawyers. I mean, just stuff like that. And it's just like, I wouldn't. I was like, no. I mean, I had this one lady. She was really kind of salty with me.
Oh wow.
Okay, look who I am, and I'm like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You don't meet what God has showed me is supposed to be in my life, and it's like it doesn't matter about that. So often we get so caught up and consumed in what somebody may have, or what title they may have, or what they look like. And stuff like that, and it was just like I had told God, I said, whatever your will is for me, if it's your will for me to be in another relationship, let it be, and God knows the desires of our heart. So if we're obedient, He'll give them to us.
Amen. All right, I love it, and I love that. I want to adopt that mentality, not just relationships, but in career, in anything. Like if it's God's will and for you, it's gonna happen. And this whole thing of if it don't, I'm gonna be all right. So I love that.
Yes.
I love